Here we go. Episode 52 of the Hardline Sports Talk. I am Michael Merlo. I have John Michael Masiri right here. JM, how are we doing today?
I'm doing great, Michael. I'm doing so well. Still trying to wrap my head around the past weekend with all the football madness. Got a lot of opinions to throw out there, so I'm ready to rock. How are you?
Oh, what a weekend it was. I mean, you really can't ask for a better weekend in sports. I mean, probably the greatest week, maybe the greatest Sunday ever. Is that possible?
And
I think it was. And Saturday too.
And Saturday, I mean, 4 game-winning field goals. You can't really draw it up any better. Well, besides, the Titans Chiefs, that was a walk-off in a different fashion. But listen, we had a really bad weekend last weekend. So this makes up for it and then some.
Yeah, it's just I don't want to be disappointed this weekend, but it's like what can you ask for?
I know
at this point. But it was fantastic. One of the better games we've seen in a very long time on Sunday night. The Chiefs and the Bills. The Chiefs ousted the Bills 42-36.
Big word for you. Attaboy.
Yeah, I know. You like that word? My vocabulary is getting up there a little bit.
Yeah.
Starting to learn some new words. Starting to learn where to place them, too.
There you go.
Obviously, they win in overtime, and we're going to have that discussion in a little bit about, the overtime rule, how the Bills, who played a phenomenal game, especially really from the 75-yard touchdown on, were just rolling on offense. They didn't get to possess the ball in overtime, and we're going to get to that in just a little bit. I just want to say to you, I'm very, very sorry, because whether or not you hit on your quarterback or not, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, Trevor Lawrence is supposed to be the next coming of Jesus Christ. Mac Jones has got Bill Belichick to work with. And did I miss anybody?
I mean, if Deshaun Watson figures out what the hell
he's going on, Deshaun Watson,
add him to that list.
I think the Steelers are going to be adding a quarterback.
Yeah,
please, it's good.
Thank you for thinking.
Keep the competition on that side of the NFC. If the best quarterback next year is Matthew Stafford and Dak Prescott, please, we'll take it.
Jesus Christ, yeah. Oh God, I hate the sound of what you just said, but yeah, I mean, I'm watching that game yesterday, and I'm talking to some of my roommates. I'm like, am I really crazy to say that Josh Allen may be better than Pat Mahomes or just as good? Listen, he can do anything that Mahomes can, and I think Mahomes has the better weapons around him. Listen, Josh Allen isn't short of a number one receiver in Stephon Diggs. He's phenomenal, but Pat Mahomes has one of, if not the best pass catching tight end in NFL history at his disposal. And then you have Tyreek Hill, who's a freaking track star out there. We saw him break off that long touchdown yesterday. So listen, do I think that Allen's situation is much worse? No, but he's more athletic than Mahomes is, right? He's a more powerful runner. He's a faster runner than Mahomes
more
is.
Designed runs.
Right. He has just as good of the escapability as Mahomes does, if not better. He can make just about any throw like Mahomes can. Now, does Mahomes show a little more kind of jello-ness in his arm? You know what I'm trying to say? Like, can he throw from maybe every single angle at any point off his foot? Yeah. Can Allen do it to the same degree? Maybe a slight tier below that, but the arm strength is toe-to-toe. Like, I really think it's not a crazy statement to say that Josh Allen is as talented as Pat Mahomes is, because
it's so close, because you can't go wrong. They're both fantastic, and it just makes you think. Number one, like especially with our teams, like what the hell are we doing? Because and how do you even expect to ever compete with these two guys? And number two, we've seen Rodgers, and Rodgers has been debated. Is he the GOAT? Is he maybe the best of all time, the most talented of all time? And we're obviously going to get to him in a little bit. And Brady's the most successful quarterback of all time. But the talent level, listen, he's can't escape like Rodgers. He can't throw on the run like Rodgers. He's not even as accurate as Rodgers. These two guys are like made in a factory. I'm on the level. I've said this for a couple of years now. With Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback I've ever seen with my own two eyes. It's actually like difficult to formulate words. Like I'm like speechless when I talk about these two, because it's like what are you doing? And Allen is getting to that level. It's almost like these two are made in a lab. This is the perfect quarterback you'd want. Like Allen, especially with his ability to just take the ball and run, like designed run plays. They're unbelievable.
Right. We may not realize it right now, but we are basically undergoing what people saw in 1925 when Babe Ruth was hitting home runs left and right, and they never saw it before. And all of a sudden, everybody started hitting home runs. And the reason why I make that analogy is, what were we so used to in the NFL, right? We're seeing all these guys retire, your Big Bens, your Drew Breeses, your Peyton Mannings, whatnot, Eli Manning, right? All those guys I just said were pocket throwers, right? Good quarterbacks, but pocket throwers. Never really were, Ben was a big guy, he'd scramble once in a while, but, nothing of guys you're seeing running around all day, throwing off platform, whatever. Rodgers is really special that way. And now, of course, there's guys in the NFL who've been there for a while, like Russell Wilson and whatnot. But all of a sudden, it's like they're pumping them out like a factory. Like Zach Wilson, for example. I'm not going to compare him to these guys, but his type of prospect, right? He was, look at his pro day, throwing off 1 foot and everything. That's what everybody's looking for now. Same thing with guys like, Trey Lance. That's what they love about him. But usually those guys come around once in a blue moon. But like I said, they're coming out like crazy now. You're expected to be able to use your legs and throw from any platform now. And if you're not, they're going to move on and look for someone else who can. And that wasn't the case for years. You didn't expect that out of your quarterback. If you ran, that was a nice plus, but the pocket passer plus 5.2 40-yard dash quarterback rarely exists anymore. Mac Jones is the only one I can think that's been drafted high very recently.
Yeah, it's funny that we talk about Mac Jones, and a few years ago we might be talking about him as a star, like a stud, the big thing, but it's not. He's not the big thing anymore.
Mac Jones would be the number one overall pick if football was going on. If this was 10 years ago.
Yeah, but you're 100% right. And now you have this rivalry, this great rivalry with Allen and Mahomes now. And I don't even know if I should call it rivalry, but just great matchup for the fans. How entertaining this is going to be for the next 10 to 15 years. These two guys battling out in the playoffs, whether it's the regular season, the AFC Championship game, the divisional round, whenever you can get us this game, please do it. It is crazy how ultra talented these guys are. And what was so impressive to me was the way both guys, no matter what, listen, both teams didn't really have a great pass rush last night. Nothing as dominating as, like the 49ers were on Saturday.
Or the Titans, who still lost somehow.
Yeah, I don't understand that. But the way they were able to get out of the pocket, get out of sacks, you really don't see that. That's not normal.
No.
So that was incredibly impressive by both of them.
So, first of all, you got your little left AirPod in. I'm giving the over-under 10.5 minutes till that thing pops out.
I'm keeping it in. I'm really hoping it stays in tonight.
But there was one point yesterday during the game. I think it was definitely late fourth quarter. I don't remember which drive it was for the Bills. I think it was the drive when they were down 26-21. And Allen, it was like 3 straight plays where the right tackle got beat or the left tackle got beat, and he stepped up, ran around, stepped back, whatever he did, it went on a little scramble drill and scrambled for 15 yards or threw a strike down the field. Like, it really is just, it looked like backyard football last night at one point, and that's what made it so exciting. I think about the 2-point conversion play that Allen had. That was an unbelievable.
No, and nobody's talking about how crazy that was.
That was absurd. That really was.
What about the 4th and 4 play? It was the first 4th down to that last drive, and he scrambled. He faked somebody out.
Yep.
And
then 2 guys out, I think it was.
Yeah, ran around and then went up the sideline and was able to get the first down.
And he's so tough to bring down. He's such a big guy. He really is, reminds me, he has more arm talent, which is crazy to say, than Cam Newton, but he reminds me of Cam Newton from his prime. Just as gifted of a runner, I think, in my opinion. And I know that might be a crazy statement, but
no, it's not.
I just think that comes down to the way Cam Newton was used. He didn't have the arm talent that Josh Allen did, so they relied more on his legs. But Josh Allen doesn't have to rely on his legs as much. He can also make every throw that there is. But he really is something special. I was wrong about him. I mean, the Jets were in a position to pick him 4 or 5 years ago, whatever it was. I didn't really want him. I wasn't crazy about the whole. Honestly, part of why I didn't want him is because he was such a raw prospect, and I didn't trust the Jets organization to develop him into a good player. Right?
And you're not wrong.
Probably have messed it up.
He
But
went to the perfect situation.
right. And listen, I think that's the way it is sometimes. I don't think teams are necessarily wrong or right about prospects, or media is wrong or right about people. I think, if guys are put in the right situations, they thrive. And if they're not, they fail. So
we were talking about this last week with Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes went to the absolute perfect situation with a Hall of Fame coach, Hall of Fame talent around him, the ability to sit here and learn under a nice veteran and Alex Smith. It all worked out perfectly for him. If the Giants drafted him, if the Eagles drafted him, the chances that he would have been great. I mean, I think eventually we would have saw something from him, but not this quick and not this dominant.
No, definitely not. And we're still yet to mention the star of the night last night, and that's Gabriel Davis. I looked at the numbers this morning. He would have, if it was fantasy, he would have put up 56.1 fantasy.
Wow.
8 for 201 and 4 touchdowns. I mean, where the hell did that come from?
That broke a record. That went unnoticed, broke a record for most receiving touchdowns in a game.
Yeah. Oh, another thing. We'll get right back to the game, but this just came to my head. The sports books absolutely cleaned up this weekend. Cleaned up. I'll tell you right now, I had the most embarrassing weekend of my life, I think, in terms of betting. I put in $100 worth of bets. I'm retiring, by the way. I'm not.
You're done.
I'm announcing my retirement.
Wow.
$100 worth of bets and not a single one hit. And now, so I put in a couple straight bets, but a lot of them were parlays. So you might be like, oh, Jan, don't beat yourself up about it. Like, they're parlays. I had a 5-leg parlay, not a single leg hit. And that was a same game parlay. And I had a 3-leg parlay of just money lines, and not a single one of those hit. I got every single game wrong. I said the Packers, Titans, Bucks, and Bills were going to win.
Well,
every game wrong.
Just not to go off track, but everybody had these future bets, the teasers, whatever they had. They probably teased the Packers, just to win maybe, or Packers money line at a parlay. Done. Gone.
The sports books definitely made their money back.
They had a weekend for sure. And the Rams definitely, the 2 games on Sunday were kind of closer than you thought, but definitely Saturday cleaned up on Saturday. We were talking the overtime. Now let's get to the overtime, because first of all, we didn't even mention the fact that Patrick Mahomes went in 13 seconds right down the field, kicked a game-winning, and then led Harrison Butker to kick a game-winning field goal. We didn't even get to that yet. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about the fact that Leslie Frazier had his defense playing the sidelines on those whatever plays. To me, that is mind-boggling. They have 3 timeouts, and you're giving them the whole middle of the field. And the second thing, they kicked with the 13 seconds after they score the touchdown, they kicked the ball right, out of bounds, to the goalpost. Why are you doing that? The play should have been not to squib it, but to kick it so that it falls even a 15 to goal line. Hopefully, or 15-5 around there, so that they have to retrieve it and run a little bit. If they slide down, they're sliding down at the 15 or 20-yard line, and you take time off.
Because there's 13 seconds on the clock. So you figure, a kickoff is going to take at least 3 seconds off by the time, he catches it and it gets tackled. So that brings you to 10 seconds. It's going to be really hard for a team to go, let's say the return, was a little bit of a short kick that got to the 30, 35. It's going to take, that gives them 30 yards to gain to get in the field goal range. So to get 30 yards in 10 seconds, and then on top of that, have a field goal to make, so that's 3 plays, that's not really mathematically possible, honestly, with the clock. So, yeah, I agree. I mean, they would have had 1 play instead of 2 if they did do that kickoff, but that's what happened. And I'm kind of one of those people with the philosophy in those situations, as from a defensive perspective, where I know you want to play it safe, but if you're just playing your normal defense there, what are the odds that you're going to give up 40 yards like they did within 10 seconds? You know what I mean? Like, I don't say get stupid and play cover 0 and put 7 guys in the box or whatever, But, get your guys 5 yards off the line of scrimmage, not 15, and standing back there doing cover 4. That's too much. You know what I mean?
I think they were worried about either Hill or somebody taking the top off or breaking one out, the crossing route and taking it like he did, in the fourth quarter. Listen, you can't do that. That cannot happen. I still can't believe that they were playing the boundary and they weren't, like, they gave up the whole middle of the field. To me, that is what is crazy.
That's mind-boggling. The whole playing the boundary thing makes absolutely no sense because A, they don't have any, they already have timeouts, so why would they need to get out of bounds? And exactly. B, if you just look at it from a common sense perspective, they're going against the clock. Why would they go to the boundary if that's the furthest way they have to throw the ball or the furthest spot they need to get to? That's going to take more time off the clock. The middle of the field is way quicker to get to.
What sucks for Josh Allen is that that two mistakes there coaching, whether it was the kickoff, whether it was the way they were playing defense, and then a coin flip ended up deciding the fate of their season and his season. And that's what sucks, and that's who I feel bad for.
Yeah.
Now we're going to talk about this overtime. Obviously, we know the deal. Last time there's been so much uproar about the overtime and how it's played was when the Chiefs were not able to possess the ball in the 2019 AFC Championship game. Tom Brady went down the field, scored a touchdown. They go to the Super Bowl, and Mahomes didn't get to touch it. And now we're dealing with the same thing. Just Mahomes was able to have the final say. He wins. And I thought Allen handled it very well after the game. He was just saying that was the rule. And he said what he had to say. I know we're going to disagree here. I kind of actually fall right down the middle because, listen, this is the rule, right? They have these rules in place. You may not agree with them, but, you have a defense. You have the number one defense. And while I agree they should probably, and again, I fall down the middle. It's very weird here. I agree in the postseason you should possess the ball because that coin flip should not have the fate of your season, but your defense does have to step up and make a play.
Yeah, me and you definitely fall different on this. I am not down the middle. I'm very much on the side of I can't stand the overtime rules. I haven't for a really long time. That game that you just talked about, the Pat Mahomes, Tom Brady AFC Championship from a couple years ago, that really opened my eyes to it, where I just felt like the game was stolen from the Chiefs in a way, or maybe stolen from the fans because, they didn't get a fair opportunity to retaliate and come back or whatever. So yeah, that was an amazing game last night. And I wake up this morning and I had that kind of bad taste in my mouth of, man, that's not the way that game should have ended for the way it was going. The Bills, both defenses were gassed. Nobody was stopping either offense. And it's just a shame the Bills never got to come back and, even up the score, because I think that's the way it should be. It's fair. And, I saw this analogy today and it makes a lot of sense. It was comparing it to baseball and saying, imagine an extra inning game where the road team scores a run in the top of the 10th and the game's over. And that's really what happens. The home team never got the chance in baseball terms to come back and put up a run of their own. So I think that's what it is. And I know I like to use this term a lot. The NFL is half pregnant in this sense, because why would you change the rules of overtime for the playoffs where you make it 15 minutes instead of 10 and you give them 3 timeouts instead of 2? But you're not going to change the whole scoring formats and everything, because to me, that whole rule they have of the first touchdown scores and whatever, that's to prevent ties, right?
Right.
But there's no ties in the playoffs. It's impossible. They'll go to double overtime, triple overtime, wherever the hell they need to go. So I'm of the opinion of, why not let them just play a full quarter like normal? I think that's fair for both teams. It takes the whole effect of the coin toss out of it a little bit. I mean, the team who receives still has the advantage in that scenario, but it's a way less significant advantage. Yeah, I don't know. I just feel like we were, for such a great game that we watched, we were kind of given a little bit of a cliffhanger, in my opinion.
That's the only solution. Playing a full quarter, whatever it is, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, whatever you want to do, and The winner of that quarter is the winner of the game. If there's you need overtime after that, then we can discuss. You want to have, a double overtime? Would it be the same thing? The same amount, 10-minute quarter, 15-minute quarter, or then would you want to do sudden death? I don't know, but I'm with you there. It would have to be another quarter for me, like a full quarter, not,
Right.
they get the ball and then they score, they win. Like the back and forth, the college rule. I don't like the college rule.
I don't think that would work. I don't know how much I love that.
Wouldn't work here. It's fine in college. Leave it there. It's
But
confusing and it's
listen,
stupid. Leave it there.
you can leave the whole regular overtime rules that they have right now. You can leave those in the regular season. I'm
Yes.
still not crazy about them, but I'll sign that deal if you just make the postseason one, like we're saying, a normal quarter.
I mean, and that makes sense too. Just to leave this rule in the regular season.
Yeah.
Again, you want to avoid a tie in the regular season. Nobody likes to see ties. You don't really want those guys playing for that long.
I think another point that the NFL will make when they're defending their rules is saying, they don't want these games to go on forever, which, like I'm saying, in the regular season, sure, I get that. But in the playoffs, you're telling me the entire nation didn't want to see another hour of that game at least last night?
Oh, my God, of course.
I mean, that's what everybody was wanting to see. So
I think this is what's going to get them. I think this time they'll have it. They'll have the chance to change it.
Right.
They have to vote. The team has to vote.
Something needs to happen with outrage like that. What happened with that pass interference in the Rams-Saints game about 3 years ago when they made pass interferences challengeable, which was like the worst phase of the NFL that I
can't believe that actually happened.
That was the most annoying thing ever. You remember, like, every freaking game there were like 3 challenges for pass interference.
Yeah.
That
I'm happy we're out of that now.
Yeah, but this is a rule change. This is a reaction to an event that I would like to see for a rule change.
I really think we're gonna get it this time. We could talk about this game for hours, but we're gonna stop here and we're gonna go over and we're gonna talk about our buddy Aaron Rodgers and the San Francisco 49ers. The San Francisco 49ers with a gutsy win in Green Bay on Saturday night. They beat the Packers. I'm gonna say this 49er team, and I didn't really, I don't remember too much about the 2007 Giants, and I heard somebody else say it, but it's true. They are the 2007 Giants, in modern time.
Yeah, I don't hate that comparison. 2007 Giants had that infamous win in Dallas against that 1 seed Tony Romo team, and they just went against Aaron Rodgers and number 1 seed Green Bay Packers in 0-degree weather and pulled off that upset. And they did also beat the Cowboys in Dallas. So I don't hate that comparison.
If Tampa would have won, they would have beat Tampa, and the Giants beat Tampa in the first round too. That would have been funny, actually. I didn't even think of that.
Is Jimmy G having, is it exactly the 2007 Giants? Is Jimmy G having the postseason that Eli was having? No, I mean, he hasn't even thrown a touchdown yet. But
Eli was slightly better, but I love Eli.
Eli's 2011 run was significatly better. That was when he threw like 9 touchdowns and 1 interception or whatever that was.
Eli was very good in the 2011 run.
Yeah.
The first one, you rewatch that Super Bowl. Oh boy.
Yeah. But yeah, this Niners team they are across the board talented. Like, they don't have a single personnel group on that team where you look and you're like, it's kind of weak. I mean, O-line, Trent Williams, receiver, Deebo Samuel, tight end, George Kittle. You go to the defense, that line, they have Eric Armstead and Nick Bosa. Then they have Fred Warner in their linebacking core. Then you go to their secondary. Jimmy Ward's a great player. Jarquiski Tart, like, they have some really, really good guys on that team everywhere. And they're just a fundamentally sound, like, very old school built football team. And sometimes that's all you need. You don't necessarily need that gunslinging quarterback if you have the offensive line with the run game and you have that
pass rush,
that defense, that pass rush that is,
to me, that's the most important part of their team.
You know what happened in the Packers game was, you take away that Aaron Jones play, which was a bit of a freaky play, there were no big plays in that game for the Packers at all. They were like, we're not letting you beat us downfield. We'll give you Devontae Adams little 6-yard out routes, his little hitches and whatnot, where they're not letting them take the top off the defense, and that's why they won the game. And then like you just said, that pass rush for defense is number one. It opens up everything else. It really does.
It makes your secondary better. They don't have to cover for that long.
Yep, and you get to put more guys in coverage. You stop the run game more when you have a really good defensive line. You stop the run game.
They rushed 4 most of the night.
Just about, yep.
And listen, you know how I feel about Aaron Rodgers, and the special teams killed them in that game. They had the blocked field goal and the blocked punt, which was a touchdown. I can't blame the special teams. Like, yes, they did what they did. They've been terrible all year, and they were terrible in that game. You put up 10 points. You scored 10 points, 1 touchdown. You want to be the MVP. You want to be considered one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. You can't score 10 points at home. That's on Aaron Rodgers and the offense, on Matt LaFleur, whoever you want to blame it on. That's on the offense. That's not on the special teams. If they would have scored 28 points and they lost by 3 and the same thing happened on special teams, fine, blame the special teams. You scored 1 touchdown. I don't want to hear it. And he looks like he's on his way out.
Yeah,
whatever.
I mean, there's a lot of questions that need to be answered now with the Packers. Listen, they had this special teams problem the entire season, and it was kind of that piano hanging over their head, waiting for it to drop, just saying, I hope the special teams doesn't shoot them in the foot and end up costing them their season. And that's what ended up happening. So, yeah, the point you just made, I mean, we've talked about Aaron Rodgers numerous times on this show. You are in the position where you respect his game or whatever, but you're not a big fan of him. I like both sides of him. To a certain extent. He acted like a real douche this past weekend, but this is something I can't defend him on. They went out, they drove down the field easily the first drive of the game, and then since then they scored 3 points. And he missed a couple throws. He got bailed out on a couple throws by Devontae Adams, making some nice sliding grabs and whatnot. The throw to Aaron Jones was not an easy throw, but that's a throw Aaron Rodgers usually makes for a touchdown. But Jones had to turn around, slow up a little bit, and didn't end up scoring. And the Packers, that field goal ended up getting blocked, which ended up costing them the game when you think about it. But I can't defend Aaron Rodgers here. This was not a good performance by him. Like you said, if their defense blew it for them, if he put up 4 touchdowns, 28 points, whatever, then we could have that talk defending him and whatnot. But did not have a good game. And is that his last game as a Packer? It certainly could be.
There are times where you could defend him 100%, where it was not his fault, where the defense just completely screwed him, or other situations. This is on him. I mean, this performance, to me, legacy wise, he takes a hit here. He really takes a hit. If he won this Super Bowl, in my eyes, and I think in a lot of people's eyes, I would have really had him right there, 1A, 1B as the greatest of all time. To me, Super Bowls aren't huge on the list. So Rodgers having 2 and Brady having 7, I would have said, well, Rodgers was the more dominant player. But his inability here to beat the 49ers and even just get to the Super Bowl, we said it all year. We said it for the last 2 months. He has to get to this one. He has to at least get to it. And he couldn't do it. And I'm saying him because this one's on him.
Right. And, it's always a struggle when you think about it with how much of this goes on the quarterback. Who's to blame for this? And we always want to point to the quarterback, right? Because that's the most important position in sports. That's who wins the MVPs. That's who gets the highest salaries and whatnot. So yeah, I think a big deal of the blame needs to go on him. But, something I've realized over these past couple of years, and I saw it with Pat Mahomes last year in the Super Bowl, and I saw it with Tom Brady last night, is if you want to be a multiple Super Bowl winning quarterback, you need so many things to fall in the right places for you. And, it doesn't happen for a lot of people. For Tom Brady, it happens all the freaking time somehow. I mean, yesterday the Rams were trying to lose that game at one point. I mean, literally. But yeah, do I think Rodgers should get a big bulk of the blame for that game? Yes. Do I think the fact that I don't want to come out here and start making all these excuses for him, but I think some of them are valid to a certain extent. Do I think he wishes he had David Bakhtiari for that game? Hell yeah. Do I think he wishes that I don't know, his freaking weapons were a little better? Probably. But it's still not good enough. Like it's on him.
Things have to fall in place. I agree. Just like any championship run, it's just funny that 7 times it fell into Tom Brady's place. Twice it fell into Eli Manning's freaking place, where he went to Lambeau Field twice and beat them. It's strange. It's really
hard.
strange.
It's
hard to defend at this point.
I know it because like you just said, 7 times really. And Brady came over to Tampa and did it in his first year. Listen, Tom Brady is no doubt one of the best quarterbacks that I've ever seen. Take away all the rings and whatnot, just the ability to perform on a football field. Right. Yeah, he's really good. Is he the best I've ever seen? No. But, when you're paired with a really good head coach, this isn't his fault. It's just he's been in amazing situations. When you're paired with the best head coach, and don't ask me how I know this. I'm a nerd. I look up this stuff all the time. When your average defensive rank in New England for your entire time there is 6.7 out of 32, that's pretty freaking good. Compared to Rodgers' 15.2, I think it was, or something like that.
That moved up this year, though.
Yeah. And then Brady to be able to come to Tampa Bay and have the number 1 defense last year too, or the number 2 defense. It really is crazy. The great situations that guy has been in, but he also performs. So good for him. But
you got to give him credit because you can everything could fall into place like it looked like it was for the Packers this year, and it doesn't happen. And listen, it didn't fall into place for Brady this year. He lost. His offensive linemen were banged up. The defense was banged up all year, and they were falling like flies the past 2 games.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't happen for him, and it came to an end early. But it is tough to defend. By the way, D'Amico Ryans, we didn't bring him up. D'Amico Ryans, the defensive coordinator for the 49ers. That guy better get a job. Are you kidding me with that performance?
Yep.
I mean, it helps when you have a great pass rush, but like you said, they did not let them beat them with big plays at all. And Aaron Rodgers' last throw, possibly as a Packer, he threw it into double coverage to Devontae Adams. I think he had Alan Lazard, 10,
wide open
in front of him, wide open. He missed him. And, while we're on Rodgers and the possibility of him leaving, if he does leave and he, I don't know what his situation is. If he's, I've been told, by a couple people that I did another show with today, he can elect free agency and leave on his own. I've also seen that he could, get traded. If he gets traded, they're trading him to the AFC. And if he leaves,
great,
he's staying in the NFC 100%. Now it's a question of what team does he go to.
Oh, right. If he has the choice
in the
to
NFC,
pick a team,
he's not going to the AFC.
No, he'll stay.
Why the hell would he want to do that? Unless, 2 teams were brought to my attention, though, in the AFC that makes sense.
Denver?
No.
So
Tennessee. And I've said this for a while, Pittsburgh. I've said Pittsburgh.
Denver makes sense to me too.
Denver makes no sense to me.
How come? I mean, Denver's got a pretty decent roster in place right now. Some nice weapons.
Why would he want to go play in the same division as Justin Herbert and Patrick Mahomes?
I don't know.
And Derek Carr.
To be honest with you, I think if this doesn't end up, if this is Rodgers' last game as a Packer, I really think he's just going to retire.
You think so?
He's the type of guy where he would just walk away. He'd go on the Pat McAfee show full time. He'd do Jeopardy, whatever. And that would be it. I think he's at that point where he just doesn't care anymore and he can live without it.
I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. I think he's going to want 1 or 2 more years on a different team. It's something about him. He's a weird guy. Hey, if he comes to the Giants, I'll love him. But he's not coming here.
No.
Let's shift over to another quarterback who, to me is shocking and you don't believe it and I don't. Brady's flirting with retirement here. I never thought we'd see the day.
Me
By the
neither.
way, if he does retire, Tampa Bay is the perfect spot for Aaron Rodgers, but that's a discussion for
Yeah.
another day.
Oh
That
my
is a
God. Can you
perfect
imagine?
spot.
Yeah, it must be nice being a Bucks fan if that happens. Yeah, I mean, I'm shocked by the news too. We keep hearing Brady's going to play till he's 50, and I believe it. I still believe it, honestly, at this point.
So do I.
I don't. I would be shocked if he did retire. Now, I saw those quotes from his podcast or whatever.
You want me to read them quick?
Yeah, they go ahead. They're definitely concerning, I guess.
Tom Brady on his Let's Go podcast about his wife and family and football. It pains her to see me get hit out there. They talking about Giselle. Maybe Giselle has a say in it, and this was the one that really got. I read the wrong quote. I said this a few years ago. It's what relationships are all about. It's not always about what I want. It's what we want as a family, and I'm gonna spend a lot of time with them and figure out in the next. Why can't I read right now and figure out in the future what's next? So
Yeah,
listen, it's strong words.
that sounds like, hey, I'm definitely thinking about this. Yeah, that would be definitely a big shock to me. The Bucks, I don't know where they would go from there. Now,
Aaron,
is he a free agent technically? Because I thought he only signed a 2-year deal.
he signed an extension, so he has a year. He signed a 1 year, yeah. So
He did
he's
sign
there.
an extension.
I'm,
Okay.
I'm not even. You know what? After reading that now out loud, he's not leaving.
I don't think he's leaving either.
He's staying.
I think if he won the Super Bowl this year, maybe he would do
He would
it.
have left. He would have left. He's
But
got to go out on top.
Yeah. I think he's
Or-
gonna come back.
At least I think he's a guy that likes to. I think he'd want the retirement tour.
That's what I was
So-
gonna say too. I think he would want that whole attention thing. I mean, he deserves it, honestly. But
So this will be the rumor's out now. He wants to retire. He'll announce he's coming back,
this is it.
and
Last
it's
dance,
gonna be like
whatever.
hovering over it. Is this actually it? This
Yeah.
probably is it. And whether or not he wins or loses, it'll be in the playoffs. So if he
Right.
wins it all, it's perfect. If not, he goes out.
But
with a nice
okay, I
ceremony.
actually like the point you just said, because now that I'm thinking about it, I don't think he would want, like Jeter did, like to officially say he's retiring, because he's the type of like lunatic competitor where I think that would piss him off if everything, they always say players who are retiring, it feels like they're playing at their own funeral kind of a
Yeah.
thing. I don't
know.
think he would want that happening where he's getting ceremonies and stuff and all this media coverage asking him about retirement. I think-
The
I
media
think that would
coverage will
drive
be
him
there.
crazy. The media coverage will be there, but as long as there's not that confirmation that he's definitely retiring, it won't be as bad.
No, it'll be like it'll be like it'll be drama.
Yeah,
They're like, do we get the answer to this question?
yeah.
Hopefully, it's not answered until the
Mhm.
end. But let's talk about the game because the Bucks did lose. They did lose to the Rams, 30-27. Like you said, the Rams really tried to lose this game. The Rams were up 27-3 at one point. A couple of fumbles from Cam Akers, a fumble by Cooper Kupp. Oh, it almost fell out, but it didn't. A fumble by Cooper Kupp. Bad snap, which went right by Stafford. He wasn't looking, and the Bucks are in the game. They have the game tied at 27 with what was it? 42 seconds to go.
Yep.
And Sean McVay and Matt Stafford say, screw it. We're going for this thing. We're winning this damn game. And a couple of big plays to Cooper Kupp, and they kick a game-winning field goal. Matt Gay. It was very interesting, and I thought he was going to pull it out. I don't know about you.
Yeah, it got to that point where you were, even when it was like 27-6 or 27-13, you were just like, oh God. Like you just had that feeling. But I kind of want to go back to the point that I made when I was talking about the Bills in that 13-second drill. And why don't you play your normal defense there? If you're Los Angeles, right? You're up 27-6 at the start of the fourth quarter. Your offense is running pretty smoothly. Do you really need to take your foot off the gas pedal? I understand you want to milk as much clock as possible, but what happened? They were on and off the field in 2 seconds. It seemed like 3 and outs. They had their fumbles, which pass or running, you can't. Doesn't really matter. You need to protect the football. But if you just go out there like normal and run your offense, does it get that close? I know it's a little risky, but if you have the confidence in your team to do it, why not?
Well, they did the same thing against the 49ers in the week 18 game.
Yeah.
They took their foot off the gas pedal and they do lose the game. They go to overtime, they lose the game. You're 100% right. He got all conservative and ultimately let them right back in the game, because when you're not running your offense and you're just trying to kill the clock, any big mistake there kills you even more than it does if you're, going for it and still taking your shots and moving the ball down the field.
And what's the shot that you're gonna get multiple first downs just running the ball over and over again?
On that run.
Very, very slim. And running the ball over and over again on 3 downs takes about 2 minutes off the clock. So you want to take a little more than 2 minutes off. So that's kind of my point where I'm saying, why not just run the offense like normal? Maybe don't go air raid, but a little run, a little play action, a little whatever.
The Bucs dug themselves such a hole though, where it was enough for the Rams to hold on. And the offensive line for the Bucs was Tristan Wirfs was out, Jensen was playing banged up, the backup for Wirfs got hurt, and Donovan Smith on the left side didn't do Brady any favors either. Von Miller was in his face all day, strip sack, fumble. So that was. And they recovered it. That was, very impressive. I thought the defense, especially, they stepped up and played well. And then, you go into prevent defense and, really, I don't know why they did that, but whatever. It was.
The Ramsey Evans play was insane. That was.
Yeah.
And Tom Brady was not playing well in the fourth quarter there. I mean, like I said, there were multiple, and it's not all on him. The offensive line was getting beat up by that amazing Rams pass rush, like you just said, with the Von Miller strip sack. But he wasn't really playing all that well. But that throw to Mike Evans was an absolute dot. It was I think Mike Evans, somehow he's still underrated.
I agree.
He's been one of the most consistent receivers in the NFL for like freaking 8 years at this point.
Yeah. Since he came into the league.
1,000 yards after 1,000 yards over and over again. Led the league in touchdowns this year. But,
and he's being a red zone target, just because you're big, like you still have to make the play. And he always makes the plays.
He's got great footwork. And he did a really nice job yesterday of getting his body in the right position to kind of box out Ramsey from being able to make a play on that ball. He did a really good job of that. So yeah, he's a very good receiver. It would kill them if, it doesn't matter now because they're out of the playoffs, but it would have killed them if they lost him because they were down to just him. We know about Antonio Brown and Chris Godwin was out for the year. So yeah, really freaking good game. Cooper Kupp is an absolute dog. I mean, can we please mention, stop calling this guy overrated? And I think people say he's overrated for certain reasons that I don't really want to say on the show, but I think he kind of deserves credit where credit's due.
He's unbelievable. He's unbelievable.
His run after catch ability is unbelievable.
And the way he's always open, no matter what. He's always open. And I haven't seen him. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen him drop a ball. He's great hands, so consistent. And I mean, if you've ever heard him talk after the game, getting interviewed, he's a nerd. He's a freak. He's a legit nerd. So he is. He's very impressive. And I always say Trent Williams should win Offensive Player of the Year. But and I know postseason really has nothing to do with it. But it's going to be Kupp, and both of them really deserve it. But Kupp and Trent Williams have been that good this season where you could give it to both of them.
Yeah. I like the fact that we're giving linemen recognition, but let's not throw them in the Offensive Player of the Year category. Let's throw them in a different category with.
Let's give them an award. What's the award?
Where's the NFL Martone Award? Like, where is that? Why?
Yeah. I mean, I went back to back with that.
Oh yeah, I'm sure you did.
Yeah. But yeah, Cup has just been that good all season, and he showed up. He showed up yesterday. How many yards he ended up having?
181, I think. 9 for 181.
Yeah, he is. He's special, and I'm excited to see what he does next year. And credit to Matthew Stafford, right? I mean, he gets killed,
Yeah,
for years, and years.
that was
and
an
years and
unbelievable
years.
throw. The last throw, yeah, was a dot.
And you want to talk about coaches effing up? What the hell was Todd Bowles doing, sending an all-out blitz?
Yeah,
And not everybody blitz
yeah.
on that last play. It's just. I mean, you could be coaches. That's how
I thought they were gonna honestly after that incompletion. I thought they were just gonna kneel it out.
Good thing they didn't.
I was not gonna be surprised if they just handed it off or whatever. And we're like, all right, let's get to overtime.
Did you have the Bucks or the Rams in this game?
I had the Bucks.
So did I.
Hmm.
I had a nice same game parlay though in this one.
At least I cashed out Packers money line for $2.24 when Robbie Gould was lining up for the game-winning field goal.
Hey, you make your money back.
That spared me.
Make a little money back.
No, this was an absolute. I don't think this. Listen, this weekend was rare. Like that never really happens with all these underdogs winning or whatever. But I'm not touching FanDuel for a while.
Listen, I had a nice weekend. I had a same game parlay. I hit the 49ers money line and spread, but I was 4 yards away from Byron Pringle from hitting my 4th straight same game parlay in the NFL for $371. 4 yards away from Byron freaking Pringle. But whatever, Byron's the boy. And maybe he'll send me some money. I'll screenshot it to him. I'll say, couldn't get 4 more yards, man.
Yeah, I'm sure he'd really appreciate
more
that.
yards. Yeah, send me like $500, no problem. The last game, which goes, kind of gets forgotten about. I mean, I'm not gonna lie to you, I didn't watch much of it.
Neither did I. I was out. I didn't get home until the 4th quarter. I didn't really get to see much of it.
You weren't out watching the game?
Well, I was at. Okay, so we go to Chili's, right?
Yeah, sketchy.
First of all, Chili's hot. Like I haven't been there in so long. It's the bottomless nachos or whatever, chips and dip. That's
good.
Hot. Yeah, $9 for the whole table. Bottomless chips and dip. They put the thing out there. You eat it in 90 seconds because we're all starving. They do it like 4 times. You get the bang for your buck. But I get there. I'm like, hey, can you put the Titans game on the TV? And the guy's like, yeah. 5 minutes goes by, nothing. They're showing Yankees classics. I'm like, there was the Aaron Boone game when he hit the walk-off against the Red Sox. I'm like, okay, this is nice to watch, but I want to watch Titans Bengals right now. We asked 3 more times. Game never got put on. So one of my friends had the game on his phone, leaning up against the salt shaker or whatever. I couldn't really see it.
So it was a mess.
It was a mess, yeah. But
that's very unfortunate.
I did watch the highlights and I did read up on the game or whatever. I have a massive problem with Mike Vrabel going for 2 there. I don't.
Yes.
The first score of the game. I understand. We're getting close. There was a penalty. We got to the 1 instead of the 2. Are the odds of us getting the 2-point conversion there are higher? Whatever. It's a 6-6 game. Take the lead. Stop getting so greedy. Just take the freaking lead. And they ended up losing by 3 points. The game was tied there at the end. If they have a 1-point lead, there are a lot of things that could have changed.
No, I agree with you. From what I heard all day today, Mike Vrabel was getting killed for that. And being up 1 and being up 2, we talk about it all the time when you're going for 2. Being up 1 and being up 2 is almost the same. It's basically the same thing. Going up 3, yes, obviously it's different. The field goal ties it, doesn't win it. Going up 1 point, just go take the lead, take your point.
Yep.
So I agree with you. I thought I was dumbfounded. I mean, I was listening to the game on the radio.
Yeah.
But when I heard he was doing that, I'm like, why is it makes no sense.
And 9 sacks and you don't win the game? How the hell does that happen?
9 sacks. What else? There was something else. 9 sacks and you hold them to 19 points.
Yeah.
And you rushed for 140 yards. You think you won that game by 30.
Are the Bengals just like an anomaly to everything? Like, are they an outlier? Because we've been talking about it since freaking draft day when they were saying, Jamar Chase, they were going to pick him. We were like, no, get the offensive lineman. They need offensive line. And the offensive line hasn't been great still. I mean, like we just said, they got sacked 9 times and they're in the AFC Championship game. So
it could come back to haunt them. Yeah, okay, it's
right.
working
It can
out
only
right
get
now.
them so far, kind of a thing, but still, it's unbelievable.
My philosophy. I would have taken the offensive lineman stuff.
Yeah.
I know they were considering Slater. I remember that Slater was, all pro this year, second team all pro. Penny Sewell, he's with the Lions. He didn't have that great of a rookie year, but the potential that guy has is unbelievable.
Who really
They
does
still
with the
think,
Lions, anyways.
yeah. So I would have taken the offensive lineman, but that's just me.
Yeah. I mean, so would I.
Still today, I would redo it, and I would take Slater.
If I was the Bengals, I don't know about that. Like, if if I knew Jamar Chase was going to be as good as he is, I'd probably I'd take Jamar Chase. But if you put me in that same situation at that time, yeah, I'd take the offensive lineman because I think a left tackle is more important than a wide receiver.
Especially when you have 2 talented wide receivers.
Well, with how talented Jamar Chase is and the chemistry between those two. They played in college together, by the way. I don't know if you knew that.
Really?
Yeah.
Wait,
yeah.
really?
Yeah, they don't talk
Where'd they
about
go?
it for some reason.
Where'd they
during
go?
The games. I don't know. I don't even remember. Yeah, I don't know.
Louisiana
purple team.
State?
Something like that. I mean, Jesus Christ, you want to make it any more obvious every time they freaking play?
A little annoying. Did you see the Evan McPherson story is great?
Yeah.
Evan McPherson, rookie kicker from Florida, has been great all season long. Money all season long. He was great in the game. He hit a couple of field goals. He comes out to hit the 52-yard field goal to win the game, send them to the AFC Championship game. He takes a couple of swings on the sideline. He looks at Brandon Allen as he's walking out to go make the kick. He goes, looks like we're going to the AFC Championship game. Goes out there, drills a 52-yarder. I love that story. I absolutely love that story.
Baller. Go out and call your shot.
And now they open up as 7-point dogs on the road in Kansas City. I tell you something right now. I don't know who I like in the AFC.
I don't know.
The 49ers are going to the Super Bowl.
I like that pick. But yeah, I don't, like I said, I'm
retired.
I am retired, so I'm not going to stress about it too much, but 7 points is a lot. But then again, I could see the Chiefs just rolling over them. And I know they lost them in the regular season, but
in Cincinnati, I don't know. It'll be a good game. I don't know. I'm not even touching that yet. I'm gonna give my brain a break.
How about Zach Taylor, man, who was on the hot seat a little bit after last year? They were talking
hated him.
Yeah, they were talking about firing him after 1 year, but they held on to him, and now he's in the AFC Championship game. So good for him.
I disliked him. I would have fired him. I was wrong. Good for Zach. Very quickly, Sean Payton. It's no guarantees going back. The owner really has no clue what's happening there. Dallas is always a rumor with this guy. I mean, he coached there. Jerry Jones has a ton of respect for him, and Jerry Jones has said he's waiting to make his decision on his head coach. It makes perfect sense if Payton was to leave. They fire McCarthy and they hire Sean Payton. The Giants hired what?
That's a Jerry Jones move.
You don't think it's a good move?
No, it's a good move, but that's like the type of move that Jerry Jones would make.
Well, if he can make it, I like the Jerry Jones move.
Yeah.
The Giants hired a general manager on Friday, Joe Schoen. There are so many different ways I've heard people say it. The Bills assistant general manager. That was on Friday, and they are interviewing head coaches right now. Brian Daboll, the offensive coordinator from the Bills, seems like the favorite. I would love that. Be the head coach, bring over Ken Dorsey, the quarterback's coach, to be the offensive coordinator. And I just saw something Wink, how do you say his last name? The former defensive coordinator. Yes, Martindale. He got released from the Ravens.
Yep.
Bring him over. That's a fantastic coaching staff right there. That's a dream scenario right there.
That would be pretty nice for them.
But that's gonna be all the time I think we've got for football because we got a lot of baseball to do too.
Yeah,
We
we
just
do. We
took
got
up
our
a
list.
nice. Yes, we got our list top 10 center fielders. It's a pretty loaded list. We're very excited about that. And of course, the Hall of Fame announcement is going to be Tuesday at was like 6, 7 p.m. So we
Or I
got
think 4 o'clock it ends, but I don't know if that's when they announced it. I'm not sure.
I think they start their 4 hour thing at 4 p.m.
Yeah.
Like they MLB Network does like 4 hours. So we'll get to that when we come back after this. Here we go. We are back to Hardline Sports Talk, episode 52. We've got our list, top 10 center fielders in baseball. I started last time, so I'm going to let you start this time.
That is so sweet.
I actually started the last 2 times. I didn't say anything.
Oh, okay. So then the next 2 times I'll start. It's so nice of you, Michael. Yeah. So really loaded position here. But let's just get right to it. I'm going to start us off number 10. I got a guy who's currently still on the market, Chris Taylor, formerly of the Los Angeles Dodgers, possibly going back. Who knows?
I think he's going back.
I don't think so, but I think it's
no. I think he's back. No, I think he signed there. I think they signed a contract. We'll look it up. You go.
I don't think he did, but anyways, 3.1 F WAR last year, 113 WRC plus. Yeah, the numbers were a little underwhelming, honestly. Like I thought he was going to be a lock on this list, and he did end up making it. But when I looked up his numbers, I was like, damn, kind of disappointed. 113 WRC plus isn't anything that pops off the page too much. But I debated putting Kike Hernandez on this list. Even Miles Straw had a nice year for the Astros, but Taylor sneaks in at number 10.
You know, it's funny. I had Taylor on here, and I also had Ramon Laureano, but they both got taken off. Kike was 10 for me.
Okay.
But
okay with that.
I mean, the last guy I had on was Taylor, and I took him off.
So what happened?
I love him.
Did he sign or not?
He did. Yeah, 4 years, 60 million. Yes.
What?
Told you. Yes, 4 years, 60 million.
Okay, I missed that.
Mm-hmm. Miss a lot. I'm kidding.
Man.
Kike Hernandez is 10 on my list. I really like Kike Hernandez. He had 20 home runs last year at a 786 OPS. He stepped up big time for the Boston Red Sox last year, and he went on a tear, especially at the end of the year. He was one of the main reasons why they got so hot at the end and ended up making the wild card. He was unbelievable last season for them. They got him. Was that his first year with them?
Yes. Yeah. He had like his Randy Arozarena impression in the postseason. He was knocking the cover off the ball.
He wasn't very good with the Dodgers in 19 and 20.
No.
But just came over here, man. Came over to Boston.
Kind of found his spot a little more with Boston.
You want to hear something funny? I've told you this. Our friend Trevor goes to school, at Manhattanville, and his friend, she is first cousins with Kike Hernandez. So she was giving our friend updates on, where he was going to sign. And the Mets were one of the teams that he was thinking about signing with.
Yeah.
And he ended up going to the Red Sox. So Kike Hernandez, Enrique. How do you say it?
Enrique Hernandez.
Enrique Hernandez is 10 on my list.
Yeah. Speaking of the Mets, number 9,
yeah, baby.
Brandon Nimmo.
Yeah, baby. Let's go.
Brandon Nimmo's got some freaking impressive numbers, actually. 3.5 F WAR, and he only played 92 games last year. A 137 WRC plus and a 349 X WOBA. So that's some impressive numbers for Brandon there. The defense, it's never been amazing.
He improved last year.
The defense was not horrible last year. So I want to see a full season out of Brandon Nimmo. Is he going to be in center field this year? I don't think so, because they just got Starling Marte. But yeah, I want to see a nice, fully healthy season out of Brandon Nimmo, and let's see if those WAR numbers can traject nicely and get into the 5 range. So Brandon Nimmo, number 9.
Yep, I got Brandon Nimmo at number 9 as well. He's going to be playing right field this year, but he did play the whole year in center field last season. Like you said the numbers. He was he was really good when he played. He was one of the bright spots for this team. His ability to get on base is huge. They signed Starling Marte, and Marte should absolutely play center field. But Brandon Nimmo should lead off for this team. He's a weapon. I think his on base percentage last year was 401. I love him. I love him to death. He hustles, great player. One of my favorite players on this
first
team.
base fast when he walks.
Yes, and when he gets hit by pitches, which he gets hit by
Yeah.
pitches a lot.
Yeah.
Just a really solid player. And like you said, I'd love to see a fully healthy year from him.
Yep. All right. This is like, from this point on, to me, a lot of these guys are interchangeable. Not, I don't want to say interchangeable, but they're close, right? I'm fully confident that I got this right. So my number 8, guy who had a big breakout year last year, I got Cedric Mullins of the Baltimore Orioles at my number 8. 5.3 FWAR, 136 WRC plus. Now, the reason why I have him lower than some people may have him, I don't really buy it, to be honest with you. Like, I buy that he's a good player. I don't buy that he's a 5.3 WAR player every year. Kind of got lucky last year when you look at all his StatCast stuff and his Baseball Savant page and everything like that. I like to look at that stuff. Didn't really have anything that popped off the page in terms of hard hit rate and exit velocity and stuff like that. So he's a good player, fast. His arm is one of the worst in the league. He has a very weak arm in center field, but he's still definitely a good player. One I'd like to have on my team, but I'm going to leave him at 8.
Boy, you're going to be surprised where I have him on my list.
Okay.
Like, you are going to be very surprised where I have him on my list. I'm very high on him. I really like Cedric Mullins. So you'll see. Number 8, I have this might be low, I guess. Starling Marte, new Met center fielder. Listen, Marte had, in my opinion, when the Mets signed him, I wasn't ecstatic because I do believe that this is a guy. He peaked. He's older. He's dealt with injuries, but he did have a 5.5 WAR last year, 134 WRC plus, hit 12 home runs. I think with him, as he gets older in his career, I think he's gonna develop more of a power. He's 33. I think he's gonna develop more power as he comes over to the Mets and less speed. But listen, he hits for a high average. If he can get on base, that would, at a higher clip, that would be great. But I think this is a good spot for him. He's 33 years old.
Yeah,
and he was good in 2020 as well. But yeah, I think this is a good spot for Marte. Maybe me projecting a little bit how I think the season's going to go with him. Maybe he drops down a little bit again, just because of age. If he was a year or two younger, I think I'd have him much higher on this list.
Right. All right. My number 7, I got Luis Robert of the Chicago White Sox. Luis Robert is a stud. I think that if he's up to freaking number 2 on this list next year, I would not be surprised. Even number 1, it depends how much Trout plays, honestly. But yeah, Luis Robert, 3.2 FWAR in only 68 games last year, a 157 WRC plus. Do I think that, like I just said, do I think he's more talented than a lot of guys on this list? Yes. But what do we take into account when we're making these lists? We take into account track record and, just how much have they produced and everything like that. So the production hasn't been there yet for him. His rookie year was 2020. He didn't really put the bat together yet that year. And then this year, he definitely put the bat together, but he only played 68 games. So if that's a full season, he's way higher on this list, but only 68 games of big production from that bat. I'm leaving him at 7.
I love him. I love him, and he's going to be on this list in a little bit. My number 7, and this might come off as controversial, but you know what? I don't really care. I have Byron Buxton at number 7. His ability to stay on the field, has really hindered him. I mean, he just signed a contract, 7 years, about $100 million. And with the start that he got off to last season, and even, the way he played, started really in 2020, he could get a big time contract, but he can't stay on the field. I mean, last season, he had in 61 games at 19 home runs, batted 306, had a 169 WRC plus and a 4.2 WAR.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. But it's the same old crap with this guy. He can't stay on the field. So until he proves that, he's staying there.
All right. Well, I'm doing the first ever. This is the first ever time I think I've done this in this segment. I'm making up my own rules right now. I changed my mind. Luis Robert is actually my number 6 now. Because I don't know. I don't, the way it came out of my mouth, it doesn't feel right. And I want my list to be perfect. So,
okay.
Luis Robert's now number 6. My number 7, going back now, we're going reverse, is Starling Marte. We were talking about him before. 5.5 F WAR last year. Never really plays to that level usually. He's usually around a mid-3 WAR player, which is nothing to frown upon. That's a good player in the MLB. That's a borderline all-star level player. But, yeah, like you were saying, I don't think he's going to do that this year with the Mets. I think he'll still be a productive player for them. But kind of had a bit of an outlier season last year, which isn't his fault. He played well. You know, what else do you want him to do? But the way I see it with his track record and how talented I think he is, I think 7's the right spot for him. So Starling Marte is my new number 7, and Luis Robert is my new number 6.
He stole a ton of bags too last year. I think he stole like 50 or 60 bags last year, which definitely helped. Yeah. Listen, if he could do that for the Mets this year, I'm not going to be complaining. But I'm not expecting. I'm not getting my hopes up.
Yeah.
All right, my number 6, correct?
Yep.
My number 6 is Ketel Marte. Might seem a little low, but you know what? I just moved somebody up. Ketel Marte last season in 90 games, 14 bombs. He batted 318, had a 139 WRC plus and a 2.9 F WAR. A guy that could play center field, a guy that could play second base. He's always talked about, you know, as a big trade piece.
Yeah.
The Yankees, you know, we've been hearing about that for a really long time, but the Diamondbacks, would never give him up just because he's so young. He's on a very team-friendly contract, and it would just cost so much to get him away from there. He's a very good player. He's young still, and I think 6 is a good spot, though. He's also had a little trouble staying on the field.
Yeah. I don't have a problem with that. My number 5 is Ketel Marte. You just went over the numbers. Had a very good year last year, but wasn't able to stay on the field. Only played 90 games, but the OPS was 909. 2020, weird year. We always talk about that. Wasn't a great year for him, but 2019, he was unbelievable. I think he finished 4th in MVP voting. His OPS
7 F WAR
970. Yeah, 7 F WAR. So he was phenomenal that year. And yeah, like you said, he's a very valuable player. He can play multiple positions. He's a switch hitter. He's on that team-friendly contract. He's a really nice player, and I think 5 is exactly where he should be.
All right. My number 5 is Luis Robert. You know how I feel about Luis Robert. I am just full-blown in love with this guy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm on Baseball Reference right now for this one. I don't know why. I just had him typed in there. He had a 3.6 B WAR last year, 13 home runs. He batted 338, 155 OPS plus with a 946 OPS. This was all in where we see 68 games. This guy could be. When we talk about the best young players in baseball, we talk about Acuna and Trout and Soto and Judge. We don't talk about Tatis. We don't talk about this guy enough. He is that talented. If he stays on the field, if he's healthy, he's that good. He could be in that conversation. And you said he could be 1 or 2 on this list. He could take over the number 1 spot on this list if he has a fully healthy season. That's how good he is. I'm very high on Luis Robert. We're going to draft him this year in fantasy too.
Yeah, I don't hate that idea. Luis Robert, this is going to be everybody's sexy MVP pick this year, and rightfully
should
so.
Be. He's might be mine.
By the way, you mentioned Aaron Judge when you're talking about the nice young players in baseball. Did you mean to say Aaron Judge? Because he's like 6 years in and he's like 28.
Yeah, I said Aaron Judge. I was just thinking of right fielders and I went down the list. Almost said Bryce Harper too.
Nice. Yeah, nice. All right, number 4. I have Byron Buxton at number 4, and wow. I'm a little bit more of a believer in him than you are. You were talking about his injuries and everything, and rightfully so, he has struggled with staying on the field. The season he had last year, you went over the numbers, absolutely insane. 4.2 F WAR is a really good season for a lot of players. It's more WAR than some guys on this list, and he did that in only 61 games. So he is the definition of a 5-tool player. He's one of the fastest guys in the league. He's one of the best defenders at that position in the league. And last year, he was one of the best bats at that position in the league when he was on the field. So if Byron Buxton can finally do it and stay fully healthy, I really want to see the way that turns out. But number 4 is where I got him.
Maybe I was a little harsh on him. I mean, not going back obviously because I think I have in the right spot. Again, if he's healthy, he's that good.
Mm-hmm.
And he is very, very good. All right, number 4. I mean, you're gonna be shocked. I have Cedric Mullins up here at number 4. He's 27 years old, lefty bat. He hit 30 home runs for the Baltimore Orioles last season with a 136 WRC plus and a 5.3 F WAR. I was very impressed by him. He stole 30 bases as well. A very fast guy. I don't know. I think this is for real. I do. I think they have a very, good young player there. I remember, looking on Twitter before the lockout, teams were calling about him. There was a very high price, but there was a ton of interest there. So clearly, teams are very interested in him. I'm buying the stock on Cedric Mullins. I have him up over here at 4.
That's all right. Well, I'm not buying the stock, so
you're selling.
We'll see.
You're
who
selling
makes
after
money.
a great year. Yeah.
Do I think he's gonna fall off and be awful like he was before then? I don't think so, but I'd be surprised if he's putting up another 5 WAR season. But
I think there's a chance we have the same top 3.
My number 3, George Springer of the Toronto Blue Jays. 2.4 F WAR last year. Didn't really play a lot, though. He had a 6.4 WAR in 2019. That was his last fully healthy season. 140 WRC plus, 358 X WOBA. Probably the second best bat at this position in terms of track record, but the defense isn't all that great. Defense last year was not good at all, honestly. I wouldn't be surprised if they play him more in the corner outfield positions next year and give my boy Randall Grichuk a little more time.
But, there we go. I'm surprised he didn't make his way out.
Yeah, honorable mention Randall Grichuk. No, I haven't gotten to number 1 yet.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Yeah, but George Springer, listen, I think a lot of people would have him number 2. I don't, obviously. The defense is what scared me away there because I think the guy who I have above him is a better defender than him, and the bat is just about as good. So George Springer's 3rd.
Yeah, I agree. I have George Springer at number 3 as well. This is a guy I wanted the Mets to sign. When he came back from injury this year, he went on a tear. He had 22 home runs. He was fantastic for the Blue Jays. You read off the stats. I really like George Springer. I know he comes from the Astros over there, but always seemed like a really good leader and a guy that I wanted on my team badly. He took, more years and more security out there in Toronto, but a guy that could still really, really hit. The defense, it was kind of known, when you were going to sign him and, a year or 2 into the contract, you're moving him to the corner.
Right. And listen, that's okay.
It's fine.
There's plenty of corner outfielders out there that, are really good bats, and they have a very good defensive center fielder next to them. So,
I mean, listen, we might be putting him, if he goes to right field, I mean, he might be on a very talented list of top 10 right fielders next year.
All right, number 2. I'm guessing this is your number 2 because it's really the only guy left because we all know who number 1 is. Brian Reynolds of the Pittsburgh Pirates, guy who is very early in his career, and I'm praying that the New York Yankees trade for this man because I think he is available on the trade market, and he's only 26 years old. A 5.5 F WAR last year, 142 WRC plus, and a 385 X WOBA, which is very impressive. Brian Reynolds put it together last year. He had a really nice 2019. The average was up. The power wasn't exactly there yet. Then 2020 was really bad for him, but like we always say with this list, 2020 is a wash. Last year, OPS in the 900s, batting average over 300. He's a switch hitter. He can hit for power now. He can steal bags. He's a good defender. He's the complete package. I love Brian Reynolds, and he is number 2.
Underrated. Not many guys know about him. He's number 2, obviously on my list, and a guy that started in the All-Star game last year. He's an impressive bat, and if the Yankees got him, they would pay a big time price to go get him.
I think the Pirates were the first team of all time to have 2 All-Star game starters and be horrible the way they were. Right?
They were, because they had Frazier too.
Yeah.
And what's funny is Frazier was kind of like their like pity All-Star starter.
Right.
And then but Reynolds, somebody got hurt, and then Reynolds jumped in center field, but he should have actually started.
Yeah.
And Frazier was good too up until the All-Star, but he was fantastic. He was hitting over 320. But
all right, and the big reveal, no surprise to anybody. Number 1, Mike Trout.
Jeff McNeil.
Regarded as the best player in baseball for year after year. I think this year is finally when people are gonna challenge that. Because he's had the injuries and whatever, and you have your Shohei Otanis and whoever is
Juan Soto's
came onto the scene, right, and played really well. So we'll see when we do our little summary at the end. We said we're going to do our top 10 players in baseball in general. We'll see where we have him. But there's no doubt when he's on the field, I mean, 2.3 F/WAR in 36 games is insane. That's a month, really. 190 WRC plus. 423 xWOBA. He's a guy fully healthy season. He's putting up 10 WAR, which is MVP.
Well, yeah. Is that what it would have equated to last season? How many months are there in a baseball season?
36 times 2, 72, 144, 2.3. That's 4.6, 9.2. Yeah, he'd have a 9.6 WAR, something like that.
Wow. Look at that math. That was very impressive.
Yeah, come on. I got the math brain. Yeah. Mike Trout, absolute stud. The fact that he's his challenger, probably greatest challenger for the greatest player in baseball is his teammate is insane. And the Angels still somehow are not making the playoffs every single year. So they got to figure that out. Maybe it was due to their former GM who's now running the show in New York, Billy Epler. Maybe he's got something to say about that. But
it wasn't Billy. It wasn't Billy. It was an Ep dog.
But Mike Trout, number 1.
Yep. And I concur. You want to read them off?
Yeah. So 10-1, Chris Taylor, Brandon Nimmo, Cedric Mullins, Starling Marte, Luis Robert, Ketel Marte, Byron Buxton, George Springer, Brian Reynolds, Mike Trout.
All right, mine is Kike Hernandez, Brandon Nimmo, Starling Marte, Byron Buxton, Ketel Marte, Luis Robert, Cedric Mullins, George Springer, Brian Reynolds, and Mike Trout. That is our top. What's next? What's next time? We got
right fielders, the
right
best position in baseball. I can't wait for that.
The big one, the big granddaddy of them all.
Yep.
Very excited for that. All right, let's move into our next discussion here and our last discussion. Actually, no, let's start off not the last discussion. Very quickly, the players and the owners met today, and they actually had a positive outcome.
Woo! See what happens when everybody gets along?
It was good. The players basically conceded on their stance on the revenue sharing. And I think the
free agency,
the free agency, age thing.
That was a horrible idea.
Yeah, they gave in on that. So there's still a lot more to go, but it was a good day, and they're meeting tomorrow, 2 days in a row, which is a good thing.
Fingers crossed. Please just baseball on time. But yeah, I mean, we're not going to give our breakdown of this. We don't know what the hell's going on in those negotiating rooms. All we know is cooler heads need to prevail. And, for the greater good, you need to come to a decision here because this is ridiculous. Stop acting like children.
The players conceded on some things. Now the owners got to concede on some things. When you negotiate, you got to give up some things to get. So let's hope this has worked out quickly and we can I mean, God forbid, got spring training on time, but hopefully just start the season on time. That would be pretty nice.
Yep.
Okay, now next, the Hall of Fame announcement is going to come tomorrow. I don't know the exact time. Tuesday. I think it's in the evening. From my past experiences, I think it's in the evening.
Yeah.
But just a quick update on the ballot here. So if you don't follow him at not Mr. Tibbs, he does a very good job of keeping track of the known ballots, that people post or whatever, or he has access to. So he posts them and like does this whole Microsoft Word Excel thing, and he puts it all into a graph, and he's got all the numbers right here. So of the 178 public ballots, that's about 48%. Barry Bonds is tracking at 77.7%. He would need 72.5% of the remaining ballots to vote him in to, be over. The threshold is obviously 75% to get in. So Barry Bonds is at 77.7 right now. Clemens at 76.6. And David Ortiz, 84.6. And those are the only guys, right there. A-Rod, first time on the ballot, 39.9.
Yeah.
He's eliminated. He's not making it.
The Big Poppy thing makes no sense to me because I understand that he was never like officially proven to have taken steroids, but he was on the Mitchell report. So I don't want to go on about this because it's, a argument of hypotheticals, but I am of the stance, and I've changed my opinion about this a couple of times. If you took steroids, I think you shouldn't get it. And I know to some people that might be like, really? Yeah, that's a big deal. But do I think Barry Bonds, if he never took steroids, he would be a Hall of Fame caliber player? Yeah, no doubt. Same thing with A-Rod. Same thing with a lot of these guys. But you took them. So I think they should stay in the record books, right? How many, all those all-time records, keep them, fine. Barry Bonds, all-time home run leader or whatever. The numbers are fine. But the Hall of Fame isn't a power ranking, right? It's an enshrinement. It's an award. It's whatever. It's a club. It's a glorified country club, right? So I don't think they should be in there because at the end of the day, you cheated.
They were some of the greatest players of all time. A-Rod, one of them, obviously Barry Bonds, Roger Clemens, one of the best pitchers of all time. It's not the Hall of Integrity. If it was the Hall of Integrity, keep whoever you want out, right? This is the Hall of Fame. You cannot rewrite the history of baseball without these guys. And
yeah, I don't. That point, you say that all the time, and I don't.
I know
I
do.
Point though, like
if I went back and rewrote the history of the last 20 years of baseball, right? How many times is A-Rod's name coming up?
Right, and you can rewrite that and have that in all the record books and everything like that, like I just said. But when you want to put them on a plaque in the Hall of Fame, I don't see why you need to do that. Because we can, like I just said, we can say, oh, Barry Bonds was going to be a really good player either way, but we don't know that for sure because he took steroids. So we may say, oh, he was still going to be really good, but none of us will ever know that's a guarantee or know what his numbers would be.
What about the guys already in the Hall of Fame that have been suspected of it? What about the guys even from, 100 years ago, 50 years ago, 60 years ago? We have no clue what was taking place.
I get that. But I think I think there are guys that snuck in. I mean, there's been rumors about Pudge Rodriguez and Mike Piazza and whoever.
Yeah.
But those guys weren't officially proven. Like these guys were officially proven, and it's kind of we can stop it at one point kind of a thing. And I think that's where you do it because Barry Bonds is going to be the first guy to get in now. This is going to be open the floodgates now. He's going to be the first guy who is flat out proven busted that he took steroids and he's going to get in. So
he's not getting in.
You don't think so? You think he's still going to fall short?
Yeah, he's going to fall short. A lot of these ballots that are not made public usually lean toward
old Old
old
guys.
school guys, not
And I'm
non
not a traditionalist in any of my sports opinions usually, but this is one of those things where I've changed my
This is
opinion
old
over it a
school.
couple of times, but I really think if you cheated, you don't deserve it.
David Ortiz has been suspected of it for a while, like you said. He's going to get in first ballot Hall of Famer, and then you got a guy like A-Rod who's not. We disagree here. I'm pro steroid guys. These are some of the greatest players of all time. I don't know exactly how steroids work, but we saw Barry Bonds before the steroids. We knew when he was not on steroids, and he was a fantastic player.
And his
And
head
we knew
was
he was a
half the size
fantastic,
of what is now.
right. You still have to have some kind of ability. Like, yes, it made him
Of course.
stronger. You have to have the ability to be a fantastic. I mean, A-Rod worked his ass off.
Listen,
for what
I
he
understand exactly what you're saying, and I agree with you. Like I said, I'm gonna repeat it, but I'm just trying to, bounce off what you just said. Barry Bonds would still be a really good player, but we will never know how good or not good he would have been if he didn't take steroids. And that's why I think you shouldn't get in, because you cheated and your numbers are inflated forever because you ended up taking steroids.
It's going to be interesting. I think your side's going to win. I don't think they're going to get in, but I'm very excited for the announcement. And yes, I love baseball talk. I miss it already. We've been a month and a half of nothing, just absolutely nothing. And now maybe we're getting back to it. We still got a bunch of free agents, that need to sign. Big frenzy. I mean, I think February 15th is the date that pitchers and catchers report. So they're gonna, if they want to get this season started on time, they're gonna have to get something maybe like a week before then. But I don't know.
Maybe
I
we'll get a
think
little, we always complain that the MLB free agency isn't like the NFL or the NBA. Maybe we'll get a little something like that where there's freaking 10 signings in one day. And
you're gonna get another frenzy. You're definitely gonna get another frenzy. We're gonna see. I mean, Carlos Correa is still available. See what happens.
Freeman, Trevor Story. There's a lot of Michael Conforto. There's a lot of guys still out there.
Clayton Kershaw. But that's gonna do it for today's episode 52. Done. It was a crazy jam-packed episode. Anything you gotta say?
No, just happy to announce my retirement. And
from gambling, of course.
From gambling, yes, not from the show, never.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to another great week of sports.
I hope so. We will talk to you guys next time.